Welcome to Biblical Preaching. Time for a book review. I've just finished reading Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. I'm not going to wing this review like I tend to do because the book's over 400 pages long and there are 12 rules, so I need to have something written down to guide me. So given that the book is that long, I'm just going to scratch the surface. But let me tell you that I heard of Jordan Peterson on YouTube. It was some of his videos were recommended to me, and I started watching him, and I liked what he was saying. So I looked to see what he had that was written, and I saw that he had this book, which is extremely popular, and then one earlier book called Maps for Meaning, which I haven't read yet. In the videos I saw that he believes in a Jungian approach to psychology rather than Freudian, to use huge generalized concepts. And I do prefer Jung myself. I first read him in high school, and I've read a few of his books now, and do think that he's really got a lot of insight that's worthwhile. So that's Carl Jung. I bought 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. And another thing I wondered in listening to Dr. Peterson speak, he's a clinical psychologist and professor in Canada. I wondered if he might be a Christian based on his use of scripture to such an enormous extent in his writing and in his speaking. I don't know. He uses the stories of the text of the Bible as myths about being, with a capital B, and how to, he interprets them in a Jungian fashion and comes up with ways to apply the stories of the scripture to modern life. That doesn't tell me what he actually believes, so that is a mystery to me at this point. Okay, so 12 rules. This book, he explains in the introduction, began as a blog post he wrote on Quora in answering the question, what makes life meaningful? And these rules all revolve around the idea of taking personal responsibility for your life. No one is going to live your life for you. No one is going to pay the debt for your mistakes, save Christ, which is a different story in one sense, but I don't want to get off track here. So let's go through the 12 rules. First, stand up straight with your shoulders back. Peterson writes a lot about lobsters and how lobster brains and lobster hierarchies are extremely similar to humans. So if you're interested in lobsters, another reason to read Peterson. Peterson writes, standing up physically also implies and invokes and demands standing up metaphysically. Standing up means voluntarily accepting the burden of being. To stand up straight with your shoulders back is to accept the terrifying responsibility of life with eyes wide open. To confront the world and all that is in it, we must physically stand up with our shoulders back, and our being will follow. Second, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. We don't belong to ourselves. We did not bring ourselves into being. Thus, we owe it to the world to care for ourselves in such a way that we bring order out of chaos for all of our sakes. Third, make friends with people who want the best for you. Peterson writes, you should choose people who want things to be better, not worse. It's a good thing, not a selfish thing, to choose people who are good for you. So the idea being that if you make friends with people who don't want the best for you, who are people who are involved in bad things, they will pull you down. So make friends with people who will, by their own nature, by their own being, pull you up. Fourth, compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Peterson writes, set up the following goal. By the end of the day, I want things in my life to be a tiny bit better than they were this morning. So, the idea being that you are you are not someone else. So the goal should be for you yourself to be a little bit better by the end of the day. 5, do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Peterson writes, children must be shaped and informed or they cannot thrive. He's going against the idea here of letting children grow into whatever they want, believe whatever they want, make their choices utterly by themselves. Peterson says, no, there needs to be structure and discipline and an impartation of a way of living, even if parts of that is discarded or modified by the child in the future. 6, set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. The idea, of course, none of us will set our house in perfect order. His point is to begin your life not by telling other people what is wrong, not by looking at the speck in someone else's eye, for those of you who are biblically literate, but to see what is wrong and know what is wrong in your life and purge yourself of it. 7, pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. The pursuit of what is meaningful encourages our growth, redemption, and reconciliation. We don't need to have everything done in a moment. We are so obsessed with self-gratification and immediate gratification in our culture. Peterson says what is more important, what is long-lasting, what will change us in the best way is if we pursue what is truly meaningful. 8, tell the truth or at least don't lie. Peterson writes, untruth corrupts the soul and the state alike, and one form of corruption feeds on another. White lies are not good. There's a way not to tell the truth without lying, if that is necessary, but normally make the standard telling the truth. Peterson writes, in paradise, everyone speaks the truth. That's what makes it paradise. 9, assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. Thinking occurs in a dialogue between two people. You need to listen and be able to summarize another person's view. If you're not listening, you're going to miss out on that one thing you didn't expect to hear from somebody that you really dislike and really look down on and really don't want to be listening to, that is going to be the thing that you need to hear. There's something you didn't know, something you needed to know, something that is going to change your life for the better. 10, be precise in your speech. Without precision, you don't know if you're going toward chaos or where you want to be. You need to know what you want. You need to speak what you want. Say the words clearly, precisely. Let yourself be understood. Don't contribute to the chaos. 11, don't bother children when they're skateboarding. The removal of risk is detrimental to the growth of humans, especially boys, and it makes people much less willing to take responsibility. If your parents or your government or whomever wrap you in a bubble so nothing ever hurts you, so no muscle is ever stretched or torn, so your ideas won't be challenged, there will not be any growth. You need to allow children to bump their knees and bang their heads and get filthy. And adults need to as well. And 12, pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Peterson explains that cats are a manifestation of being in an almost perfect form and can give us joy in the midst of suffering, if but for a moment. Similar to smell the roses. Don't be so obsessed with the chaos and so obsessed with the suffering that you don't notice something beautiful and soft and enjoyable, that you can find a moment of peace and joy in. In the coda to the book, Peterson takes these 12 rules and answers primary questions about life. The book ends with acknowledgments, endnotes, and an extensive index, so you can go back and look up ideas. Do I totally agree with Peterson? Absolutely not. There are a number of times when he gives a Jungian interpretation of the Bible, and I think he is way off. He's completely missed the point of what is being said in Scripture. And I find that really annoying because I really love the book, but that really annoys me. Nevertheless, as a whole, the book, its rules, its guidance for people who want to live a meaningful life, to avoid chaos and suffering, for all of that, I highly recommend you get yourself a copy of Jordan P. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. And when you do, there may be things that'll make you mad, maybe things you think he's wrong about, but then you have to go back to Rule 9. Assume that the person you're listening to might know something you don't. Maybe, just maybe, there's something in this book that will be revolutionary, provocative, and worthwhile for you. Thank you. See you next time.